Good evening and welcome to Journeys with Judy. Yes, it's my face again after seeing it all weekend. We are here at Firefly Hollow in York, Pennsylvania with Kara Loveheart. Thank you so much for having us in your beautiful center. This is the second time Jen and I have been here. We were here before for a Chi meeting.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having us. If you've watched the show, we start off nice and easy. All the easy questions come first.
What's my name?
Well, we go through that one. We're good.
My name is...
My name is... where were you born and raised?
I was born in York, Pennsylvania,
Ooh.
at Memorial Hospital, and I was raised here.
So you've always...
Right on this property.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Do you live in the house next door?
There's a little too much information, but
Oh,
yes,
I'm
I
sorry.
do live in the house next door because
apologize.
it's pretty. Well, the house next door will be moving out of that, and there'll be other uses for that home. But this property that I grew up on, my mother grew up here, my grandfather grew up here, and he basically was 6 generations with my son living on the property right now.
Oh, wow.
So yeah,
That's
yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, well, my mother was widowed in 2006. She put up the house for sale, and then we're like, what are you doing? This has been in the family forever.
Right.
So I was practicing out of this building, of course, and we're going to go into that later, but I just ended up, well, I'll move back, and yeah, this is like there's a legacy of amazing things that have happened here. So.
I am meant to be here.
Yeah, so.
That's cool.
Born and raised here.
Okay. Do you have any siblings?
I have 4 siblings.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and where do you fall in line?
My sisters are younger than me, and then my 3 half-brothers are older than me, so not necessarily the middle. I don't even know what you would call that. Like,
You'd be pretty close to the middle kid.
it's kind of like the middle of all the other ones on the outside. I'm sandwiched between the oldest and the youngest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, do they all live local?
One of them just moved to Aspen, Colorado.
Ooh.
My sister, and she's amazing. She's a landscape architect, and she's doing awesome things out there. If you haven't gone to Colorado, especially to Aspen or out there, it's like amazing, especially when it comes to like holistic modalities and services and practitioners and offerings and food. Oh, it's just a place to be. There and of course out west. Yes, but
So you have a nice place to go visit now.
I do. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. How would you best describe your childhood?
I was the magical child archetype. I was not in my physical body, so to speak, if you want to call it that. I had very little awareness of what was going on around me.
Mm-hmm.
My childhood was running around outdoors, playing with my chickens and goats and horses and all the farm animals that were here, running around with the neighborhood kids, and just playing pretend, being in an alternate fantasy world. And that was my mom's childhood too. She tells me stories about growing up playing Tom Sawyer on a floating raft that was in the middle of the pond. She'd go out there with her dog and her books. So I took after my mom in that aspect of having sort of a very magical child life growing up that way.
Yeah,
As
that
a young
sounds
child.
great.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So what would be, I mean, that's a lot of good stuff. Do you have 1 or 2 favorite childhood memories? I mean, it would be tough to decipher.
We used to always go to Florida with my family every February, and we used to ride on my grandfather's boat to these little islands that were not actually islands on the Gulf Coast of Florida. And that was my favorite thing to do because there wasn't any people there, and it's even like a sandbar. It wasn't actually an island, and we just get out. My grandfather and my brothers would go fishing on the boat, and my mom and my sister and me would just hang out on the little sandbar. And there was something really magical about being almost in another world.
That's what it
almost.
sounds like.
There's nothing around you, and there's no people, so I could really dive into that imaginary, what are we doing? We're shipwrecked, like what's happening, that kind of thing. So that's a good memory.
Now, did your sisters participate in your dreamland?
I don't remember I think I was the older sister, so I always made her tag along with a lot of things.
Okay.
But she was very much into animals, so she would be more like a nature. She was if you would look at archetypes, we're talking about being the magical child, she was a nature child.
Okay.
So she was really connected with animals and plants, and she still is. She's still really involved in that type of thing. But we did play with each other and kind of pretended things, but I don't because I was 3.5 years older than her. There was that part where I started to segue into my adolescence, and then she sort of stayed in that that bubble.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. What did you find challenging in your childhood?
In my childhood, the most challenging thing was when my parents divorced, and that was a moment of deep feelings of confusion, deep feelings of abandonment, which a lot of people who go through divorce have that, and feelings of helplessness. So as a child, my mother was, the reactions from my mother were very challenging for me, of seeing her feeling helpless. She had 5 kids to raise, and what does she do? And so for me, that was one of the pinnacle moments of my life in my childhood. I was around 8, I think.
I was going to say, how old were you? 8?
Yeah, I was 8 years old.
Wow.
And but I think it was one of those things that, again, on my journey and all of our journeys, and you're sharing everyone's journeys, right? Each of these moments of deep pain and sadness and fear in all of our lives, and in particularly in my life with regards to this moment, at being 8 was like, that moment changed who I was, and changed who I was going to be. And going back and healing and working with that moment in my adulthood has been the most rewarding thing that's ever happened to me. So it's like all these things. I'm so grateful that happened, because I learned how to be a mature adult. I'm still learning to be a mature adult, and watching the feelings of helplessness that had come up throughout my adolescence and even to early adulthood, from that moment of watching my mother modeling how she reacted to change, and how my pattern of reacting to change was, oh my gosh, what do I do? Right. So that was really, working through that, and still, we still have things that it comes up sometimes, but my partner Matt always says we always want to look at overcoming lessons, or once we heal from a lesson, and I like his analogy of it's just a jump rope, that the lesson's going to come back over and over again, and it's just you're going to get better at jumping, and then just you're going to do double jets. And I was like, that's exactly what it's like. Now, it'll still come up, feelings of, but it's like, okay, I know what to do now. Right. So, yeah. But that was the pinnacle moment as far as my 8-year-old self that was challenging.
Now, with that happening, did it pull you out of your dream mystical world a little bit?
I think
reality?
I think it put me deeper into it.
Yeah? That was your escape?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. So, at what age, you healed from it, but at what age were you, okay, mom and dad are divorced, that's the way it is, we're going to move on now?
That's a good question. Probably when I was maybe 12 or 13, when my mom got remarried. I think that was when I was like, oh yeah, okay.
So everything's okay now.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't, but it was like that. Yeah, they're definitely not getting back together. And I don't actually remember thinking, I want my parents to get back together. I don't remember having that. I think some people go through divorce, they have that, and I don't think I ever really thought about it. I think.
Were you surprised by it? When they said they were getting divorced?
I think absolutely. It was one of those things that was like not expected.
Okay, because I know my parents were ones that always made the agreement, don't fight in front of the children. And I think a lot of that does happen. And then when the divorce comes, the kids are like,
yes,
wait,
we have no idea.
And that's what happened with my daughter. She was like, what do you mean? Because we never fought in front of her. But energetically, they feel the tension.
Absolutely.
So 12 years old. Okay. Interesting. So you're 12. What's that? That's middle school? Horrible age.
Yep.
What did you find challenging then? So mom's remarried, so you kind of moved through that. Now what happens?
The most challenging aspect of my adolescence was I grew up very, of course, that magical child. So when I entered in elementary school, I had one friend, and she was the friend that didn't actually talk. Like they actually want to hold her back, I believe, from one of the grades, I think, because when they would call her, she wouldn't answer. But she was my friend that we had this unspoken telepathic communication. We almost like we're living in our own little magical world together. I remember going to the playground, and it was the best, and then when 5th grade hit, 10 years old, there was an awareness that I was socially very different than people. I lived in a very socially different world. I didn't pick up social cues very well. But I was, my whole thing growing up was not until I was an adult that I realized I was highly intuitive. And living in that altered world, you live in an altered state of consciousness. And when you're in that state of consciousness, that's when you pick up on things like spirits and things that have orbs floating around and colors around people that you think are just normal.
Right.
And that
you don't
when
realize that everybody does it
And then
too.
you go, why is that person saying they're fine, but they're not fine because their colors have changed? And those are the things that confuse me when I was like, okay, 5th grade, I'm going to be hanging out with people now, and the cool kids like me because I also developed, and now I'm like tall, and all these boys are like, hey, that was the part that was really confusing. And for me, moving into middle school and high school, I was highly empathic to the point where I had no idea what were my own emotions versus what were others.
Oh, wow.
And so I started experiencing moments of depression and sadness and anger, and I was aware of like, I don't know why I'm feeling this, and I would feel guilt because like something's wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel fine, everything's great. I mean, then people of course assume, well, your parents are divorced,
Right.
and now we're going to take you to the therapist, and your dad has bipolar disorder, so we think you might have bipolar disorder.
Oh, wow.
So then when I was around that age, I got put on birth control, and birth control, as many of you may have experienced, birth control can really mess up your hormone levels and your emotions, especially if you're a highly sensitive person like myself. So with that being in my life, I was having more extreme mood swings.
Right.
And of course that's where diagnoses came in and medications. And for me, I was one of those people, not only was I sensitive to foods and sensitive to noises and all those things growing up, with the medications, I was sensitive to the littlest dose they'd ever put you on. And then I get the symptoms that they say, you need to get off this right away, it's poisoning your body. And so they were always switching me from this medication to that medication. And the core belief that was rooted in me was something was wrong with me.
You're broken.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I knew when I was intelligent enough to know that you don't tell people that you see things walking around that look like people.
So
that
you learned.
I'm intelligent emotionally enough to say, don't say that. Because, the first time I got put on it was an antipsychotic medication. It made me lactate. I'm in dance class, hanging out, and we're doing splits, and we're laying down, and we have our sports bras on, and all of a sudden I'm like, why is my boob wet? What is happening?
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was a medication that one of the side effects is lactation. And so for me, it was like, what? And I remember looking up the information, going, antipsychotic, what does that mean? And then I realized I put two together. These doctors think I'm psychotic because of the things I've been expressing to them. And of course, then it put this thing into me like, maybe I am messed up. Maybe I am psychotic. Something's really wrong with me. So after that, I didn't talk about any of that stuff. I kind of shut it down, and of course the medication shut it down and shut it off.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't see any of the spirits that were walking throughout there's spirits all over the house,
Mm-hmm.
all over the house.
Oh, sure.
And it's been in the family for generations, and so I would just be like, okay, it's not there, and I didn't see it. So after my adolescent years, the biggest challenge was having the sensitivity, being diagnosed, all these different things, being put in hospitals. I was a guinea pig for medications over and over again. And I even got put in some homes because I would run away. I didn't want to go to school. I had anxiety to being around people
Mm-hmm.
and being around highly stimulating situations to the point that I needed to escape. Like, I can't even go to school. Mom trying to pull me out of bed, and I'm pulling, nope, not going, not going. And then I'd run away. So, of course, those behaviors created the parents say, what do I do?
Right.
Medicate, hospitalize, put her in homes, behavioral centers.
Because
So
that's what the doctors say.
Right,
Uh-huh.
right. And some cases even for me, there were cases of, yes, legitimate psychosis and
Mhm.
legitimate depression and anxiety and suicidal tendencies because of all these situations that
That's
were
right.
happening to me.
Yes.
But as of course, that being the most challenging part of my adolescence into early adulthood,
Wow.
that was basically the main theme, not only just in relationships, but in general operating procedures. Like, how do you operate when you are sensitive?
Mm-hmm.
My insurance ran out when I was 21. When you get off mom and dad's
Right.
insurance, so they're like, you're going to be medicated for the rest of your life. That's how it's going to be. And honestly, I was fine. I got off my birth control too, like all at once, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. I feel normal. I feel good. And I actually started to see things again.
Uh-huh.
And that's when life brought me around to say, hey, maybe you need to go to this New Visions Metaphysical bookstore. And so I walked in and I met people there, and of course you see, for me, when I see people that are highly intuitive, I see a lot of purple around them.
Mm-hmm.
So that to me, there was always like my people. I always had this thing like, you're a purple person. and I never like said that to them, like, you're purple, because
Right.
it's socially unacceptable to be like, what are you talking about? So I would meet all these people there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're highly intelligent, they're highly emotionally intelligent. Some of them have these same sensitivities as I do, and of course I grew and I joined this community and this family. But then there's still something that I thought, some of these people still struggle with psychosis. Some of these still struggle with mental illness, and they hide it. And I knew that because when people hide things from me, that was one of my things. I could just see through that. And so I thought, you know what? Even if I am still mentally ill and there's something wrong with me, at least I'm with the others that are like this.
I found my tribe.
I found my people. And so for me, I took my first psychic development class with Anna Jones there, because she had a lecture she brought in. She talked about psychic children, growing up with raising psychic children.
Uh-huh.
She had 2 boys, and so she had this story, and her boys came in at the end, and they were purple. They were purple.
You're like, yes,
they're purple people. I know they're psychic. I know. And so what was fascinating to me was everything she was saying was just, this is my life. Oh my God. And I was like, remember tears, like, maybe something's not wrong with me. Oh my God. What am I doing? This is great. So I decided to take a class with her, and basic 101 psychic development. You do psychometry, where you hold objects and see if you can feel anything from them. You try to look at auras. You do dream analysis, interpretation, things like that. And all of it seemed like so easy to me, but not like to the point where I wasn't like, oh, this is easy. It was more like, well, this just seems common sense. Can't you see that? And so it was very affirmative for me, especially with the auras, because in my mind, I saw them and they were around people as a haze, but they're not like what you would expect and what they depict in movies. That's what I was thinking, that maybe I'm not really doing this, maybe I am making it up.
Okay.
Because in movies, when they see spirits and ghosts, like in the movie Ghosts, they're
Mhm.
like floating around like a little cloud, and they're like white and stuff.
Right.
It's not what they look like.
You're like,
Because I thought maybe I'm making it up. But I remember the psychometry piece was one thing that really kind of frightened me, but also was really inspiring and intriguing to me. I remember this woman next to me, she was sitting in front of me, she gave me a ring, and I was holding the ring, and I saw a grandfather standing behind her, and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like a grandfather, and I feel like this person was in the military. And she just starts crying. She's like, this is my grandfather's ring. He was in the military. And I was like, this just feels like I'm making it up. Now, as an adult, I now learned that your intuitive side of your brain is your creative side of the brain. So whenever you get an intuitive hit or information, it feels like you're making it up, because that's where the information just
It
pops in.
disappears.
You're like, how did that come there? So to me, I still was like, I feel like this is crazy. This isn't real. This can't be real. But as it progressed, of course, that was one of those things that opened the door for me, and I realized, okay, these are my people. This is what I'm supposed to do. And of course, I'm a big nerd, and I'm very much into self-study, and I'll read, and I'll mentor, and I'll meet people, and I'll just have conversation and learn. I'm a big sponge about learning. How can I learn this skill that apparently I have?
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that psychic intuition is a skill, that we all have it, but I think it can be developed, and it's not something that's, some people believe it's a gift, and I definitely can see how people feel that way and can perceive it that way, and I definitely agree with them on some level, but at the same time, I think it's also a skill. I think there's a lot of people out there that feel there's something, oh my God, I'm so special because I'm psychic, or that person's so gifted, and I say there's nothing different about having that skill versus being gifted and being a pianist, or you're an artist, or you are an amazing teacher. Everyone has their different gifts or skills that they've developed that they're maybe just naturally good at. So as things progressed along, from my adolescence to my adulthood, the big game changer was realizing being able to talk to the spirits that were always there. I never actually talked to them.
Okay.
That was the thing that came about when I was about 25. So that was a big game changer. But biggest recap for that adolescent period was thinking I was crazy, and then realizing I was not. And then there's more situations that happen after that, especially when I started talking to these people that were in spirit and having communication back and realizing from people who were alive, having them affirm things, then it really took another level of, wow, this is real. So it was a healing thing. I mean, I remember crying.
Absolutely.
Like, my whole life I thought I was
You spent your whole life
screwed up.
being told you were crazy and broken.
Yes. And part of my journey now, that journey brought me to helping other children, that their parents bring their children here, or they're people that just all of a sudden have had a near-death experience or some sort of crazy life change that they've altered their state of awareness, that they're seeing things down, having a spiritual awakening or whatever it is, and they don't know how to handle it. And there is a fine line between psychosis and spiritual gifts. So, of course, we work with a psychotherapist here, but that's what I'm doing now, of course, like helping people navigate that. How do you navigate the sensitivity? How do you turn it up or down? Because it can be overwhelming. You got dead people hanging around you in the middle of the night around your bed. That's terrifying, and it disrupts your sleep, and it disrupts your mental state and your health. So do something about that.
So you went from somebody who would run away so you didn't have to be around people.
Yes.
To now, just thriving.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, we thrive.
Yeah.
We thrive. Some days I don't thrive because everyone's human, and I have days that are often up and down. But for the most part, yeah.
That's great. Now, in all those years, did you go away to school? Or were you always here in York?
I was always here in York. I did move out and lived various places, and I worked definitely. My first job was at Bonton. I worked in the men's department, and of course that was my favorite thing because I like organizing and categorizing, and that was fun.
That was perfect.
Yeah, that was really fun, and I worked at Subway, sandwich artist. I was a sandwich artist, and I worked. That was when I started to develop leadership skills. I became like what would they call it? It wasn't a shift manager. It was a silly name for a shift manager, like head sandwich maker or something like that. And I don't remember what it was. But I worked there with actually one of my best friends from high school. She worked there too. We were both, she's an Aries, I'm an Aries. We were born a couple days apart of each other. So she's like, we're supposed to be leaders, so we're going to do this. So we did.
Okay.
And it was fun because part of my way of leading was like hanging out with the people. We all do tag team, and like whatever you don't like to do today, I'll do. So it helped me with my people skills a lot that never got to be developed growing up.
Right.
Because I really didn't have those social skills. But for me, the emotional intelligence and the intuitive intelligence of reading people, that came a long way. Because even if their words weren't saying something, I could go, I don't think you want to take that trash out right now, man. Are you hurting? Is your back hurting? I'll do it for you. But tomorrow you can't do it every day. You gotta, that helped me.
Right.
So after Subway, I worked for Sheets. I worked as a shift manager there, and I worked third shift, and I worked third shift being pregnant with my son, and that was really great because we had all sorts of great stories working at Sheets with the third shift. After the bar, people come in. We had a naked guy come in one time. No. That was amazing. Oh my gosh. Well, I had this woman from Kenya. She was so sweet, and she was working at the front, and she buzzed me at the back. She's like, come up here. And I was like, okay. So I came up, and I looked at her. I was like, what's going on? She goes, and I looked over this aisle, and there's this guy completely buck naked, just wearing sneakers, standing out in the candy aisle. And he was tripping on mushrooms. And I was like, that's what we found out later. And I was like, hey, you gotta, head out of here. So, of course, leadership skills, social skills, dealing with awkward situation skills.
Yep.
That was, and then,
you covered all of that.
Yep. And of course, dealing with people who are in altered states of consciousness, like being drunk or stoned or high. All those people come in at 2:30 in the morning.
Yes, they do.
So, and dealing with belligerent people at those times. So
Yep.
that was my journey with that. And when my son was born, my son's father needed to go to a chiropractor, so we went to a chiropractor to work with them. And I was we were viewing his X-rays, and I said to them, "Oh, yeah, my son's just born." She's like, "What are you going to do now?" I said, "Well, I am nursing, and I love breastfeeding. It's like my favorite thing, and it's such a bonding experience. I don't know if they're going to be able to let me do that at Sheets because I have to take off to pump and all these things you have to do." And she said, "Well, how would you like to work here?" And it was like, wow. So that was like a big turn. That was a big, huge milestone for my life, turning me into this path of holistic healing.
Okay.
Sigafus and Jackson on East Market Street, they have just celebrated their 20th anniversary, I believe, or 28th. I'm sorry, I forgot the number. Because I just went last night and got just was like, hey, happy anniversary, Dr. Kevin. And so they've been in business for a really long time. And they are wonderful people, wonderful individuals, inspiring leaders. And working for them was a big step in the direction of becoming confident.
Okay.
Not just because as a leader, I was like, you're in a situation where people do what you say.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in a situation where you have to be under authority figures or you have to work with other people, especially in a situation with healthcare, how do you deal with that? And how do you talk to people you don't know?
Right.
Because at Sheets, it's a general, hey, yeah, get your cigarettes, get your gas paid for, all right, see you later, thanks.
Right.
But this was talking to people and having to interact on a level that I was really uncomfortable with.
Mm.
So working there helped me develop that to gain a confidence level. I could actually serve tables, which I always wanted to do that because I was like, I always would love to serve people. That serving people thing. Like, I don't care what it is. I'll serve them food. I'll serve anything. And the chiropractor I was working and doing massage there. And this is back before licensure was required for massage therapists.
Okay.
So I was massaging then since 2006. And then it was not until 2009 that I went to massage school working for them. So I worked for Sigafus and Jackson for 8 years. Did everything from helping them take care of their children, cleaning their house, helping people learn their exercises, getting them ready for their adjustments, hooking them to these really cool traction chairs to help your neck and your posture, and then just helping the doctors and working with them and working with some interesting personalities that you generally come into contact with, especially when you're working in an office mostly with women.
Mm-hmm.
But all the women there were really awesome and amazing, and they did a really good job at choosing who they work with. And so I can't say enough about how much I've learned as a business owner, what not to do and what to do from working for them.
Mm-hmm.
And just having my first experience having a chiropractic adjustment, and if you've never had one, there's something that happens because there's something that happens in your consciousness, and this may not be for everyone, but for me it did, because I'm energetically sensitive, that when I first got my couple adjustments, I started to feel different. I started to experience the world differently. And if you're talking about energy, you're talking about chi. When you get acupuncture, when you do yoga, when you do tai chi, when you get a chiropractic adjustment, when you get Reiki, you're manipulating your energy. And so when someone's manipulating the direct energy, the life force that comes into your body through your spine, and releasing a bone that might be connected to your spinal cord, and that might be blocking life force or chi, or there's just a physiological nervous system. I mean, that was what I had, this awakening. And so I think one of your questions is about spiritual awakening, but I think that's what happened. That's what happened there.
Wow.
And I encourage people not only to get chiropractic care for keeping your posture well so you don't deteriorate and getting low back issues and having to get surgery and neck issues. You get all the tech neck with the phones. Now that you guys are probably watching this on your phone like this, please don't do that.
Sit up straight.
But I think that working there also inspired me to eat healthier. I was 260 pounds after my son was born.
Oh.
So I was very heavy. Working at Sheets third shift, you get to drink as many fizzy drinks and soda as you want, and then working third shift, you throw the donuts away.
Oh.
And all those things, and you get to eat a little bit. You don't get to do this. If you work there, don't tell anybody. You're not supposed to eat that. You're supposed to throw it right away, but I was like, I'll take a bite of it. Because this is like wasting food. Where are the homeless people that I can give these donuts to? Right? So I was very heavy, and I was a sugar addict. So I am still a recovering sugar addict, and it is a real thing. People laugh about that when they hear it at first, but it's actually a real thing.
Yeah.
So
growing up, sugar's more addictive than cocaine.
It is, and the rats prefer it over cocaine.
Yeah.
So for me, being with them, not only getting my adjustments, but also seeing these inspiring leaders who really took care of themselves and took care of their community. They took people in who couldn't afford their care, and they'd be coming in and walking when they go out. They'd be coming on a cane and walking when they would go out. So like seeing that healing was so inspiring, and seeing the level of spirit, of service that lives and still lives in that office was like, this is a purpose. There's a purpose now to these things I have. So working there, they see sometimes 200 plus patients a day. So it's a lot of people. And so they have an open up adjustment setting. So sometimes if you go into a chiropractor, they have a private room for you. You'll go back and you get your adjustment in a private room. They have 5 tables that are set up in an open room. So as a chiropractic assistant, I would set them up on a table. I would stretch them out and get them ready for their adjustment. And then I set them on the table that they were to go to. So touching over 200 people a day sometimes,
Wow.
and seeing all that many people as a sensitive, as an intuitive, as I'm off medication, I'm working at the bookstore with these people and developing my sensitivities and getting Reiki attunements. And basically, I'm leveling up energetically and being more sensitive. And I always describe it, if you are a lightning rod without a grounding cord, your crap's gonna go haywire.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened. So I started having the auras and the sensitivity turn on at the center, at the chiropractic office, where I wasn't able to turn it off.
Mhm.
And so I remember the one day, you know, it's a really fast-paced job. I was just getting people up, and I was like, all right, I'm sorry your back's hurting today, and your neck is, you know, you have that headache. And they're like, I didn't tell you I had a headache. So that's when I was like, how did I know that? And then I was like, quickly, well, so I just read your chart from last time. So, because I felt really embarrassed.
Right.
And it didn't occur to me that, it just didn't occur to me that they didn't tell me.
Right.
And then the one other chiropractic assistant that worked with me, I remember her coming up to me at the end of her shift. She's like, oh my gosh, I have such a bad headache. And I said, oh, it's right in here. And she goes, how did you know that, Kara? And she was really creeped out about it.
Yeah.
And that's the part that kind of made me start to withdraw.
I was going to say, that would throw you right back
It really started
into...
to make me withdraw. And because they're a very Christian, beautiful Christian practice, some of the things I was doing, according to them at that point in their practice, with Reiki and being involved in the bookstore, they had, well, tarot is the devil, and all these things, because there's just an awareness and there's just not knowing what that stuff is. So there was kind of chit-chat about it, and I remember people judging me, either in front of me or behind my back about it. I remember my boss one time said, we were on a convention trip, and I was in the back of the car. We stopped at a gas station. I was listening to some music. I was listening to some Katy Perry or something awesome, and she just thinks I was listening to a meditation. She looks through the window. She goes, are you balancing your chakras, Kara? And I was like, what is she talking about? What are chakras? And I didn't even know. And she was totally making fun of me, but I thought, you know, there's a level of unawareness to what goes on in the bookstore, in the metaphysical bookstore, in the community. And I've seen from some of the awesome characters that come in there why people misperceive and judge and make fun of it. But those are my people. So I was like, how do I defend myself? Because I didn't know how to defend myself against someone that I respected, I looked up to, and I felt completely like, oh my gosh, shut this down. But also I didn't know what to do because I'm seeing and experiencing people's issues. So that's when I picked up, of course, my mom had given me the book, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, years ago, years before this happened. And I remember the part in the book in the back where it tells about the different, you know, body parts and different issues that you have, specifically what the mind or thought pattern could be that's related to an illness or a disease. So I was really intrigued at the chart in that book that talks about the spine and the different vertebrae that are what they each mean. And that was fascinating to me because I was putting people on a traction decompression table for chiropractic care. And all the people had to lay on this table. I strapped them in this little harness. They looked like they were going parachuting. And then I would sit there with them and they'd be on it for about 30 minutes and I'd talk to them. So what I found very interesting in the psychology of what was going on with these people, many of the people, almost all of them that had issues with their low back, were complaining about money. They didn't seem to feel safe in their life. They were complaining about the physical crap and the resources.
Yep.
And then I thought, that's interesting. And then, of course, I know that the resources in this book, I thought, that's really interesting. And then the people who came in that had neck issues, 90% of which were women, we were putting them on the decompression table. I thought, these women don't speak up. They're like, either I don't want to say they're battered, but they're having issues with speaking up, or they have issues with seeing different people's perspectives. It was interesting to see the psychological connection. And that, of course, is when that led me to medical intuitive Carolyn Mice and how she connected with Norm Shealy, and he's a medical doctor, with how she brought medical intuition into the mainstream and got studied. Because I said, well, maybe I'm a medical intuitive because I'm sensing these things about people. I feel them and I'm experiencing them. And what does that mean? Now, I don't call myself that. I do not call myself that. Don't say medical medium, medical intuition. No, it's not me.
Okay.
Because for me, I just get information for what that person needs at that time. It might be physical, it might be talking to people who have passed over. But I think that medical intuitive term creates expectations. That people come and say, do I have cancer?
Absolutely.
And of course, any ethical psychic or intuitive professional will never diagnose you, and if they do, you need to run away. And they will make sure that they know what when they're practicing, when they're in their scope. So I don't ever like to give it that term. But again, working there helped me to learn a language by touching all these people, and then also actually being able to read their charts and seeing what's actually going on because of what their symptoms they stated, and kind of like, is this right? Because I'm feeling this from this person. Then go pull up their chart on the computer and go, that's interesting. So I was doing this all in secret. The doctors didn't know this because they didn't really accept what that stuff was, and they would have teased me, made fun of me, and of course I still felt like I was crazy.
Right.
So running around in circles around the doctor, putting these people on these tables, looking at, what, am I right? Did I do that? Oh my gosh, that's so good. And it gave me a language to understand, because with the intuition, it's a language of symbols. It's a language of feelings and subtleties that you don't know how to identify what that is, but when you put a language or a word to it, you go, every time I feel this energy signature with this person, they seem to have fibromyalgia in their diagnosis. You know, every time I feel this signature with this person, they tend to deal with sleep disorders. Very interesting. And whenever I deal with this person has a specific color around their body or an overabundance of a color, they tend to have issues with their heart, lungs, or breathing, or asthma. So I'm like, wow. So, of course, I got
so you're secretly putting all this together.
I know. And then it wasn't until later that I realized there was so much more support out there with resources and classes and things you could take to develop more. But yeah, that was fundamental to being intuitive and having a language and having a platform to actually practice it before you practice it. That was really great. So I did end up going to massage school because I wanted to be a chiropractor. I said, I'm going to go to chiropractor school. So I actually enrolled. I was doing biology for 2 years. So I am a biology nerd. I love all the life sciences. And then halfway through that, it was like, my son is growing up quickly. He's in daycare all the time. I'm a single mother. I can't do this to him. I'm going to go to massage school because I can set my own hours, I can get a different pay, and I can be able to continue my work going to become a chiropractor.
Right.
So I did go to massage school, and after massage school, I did not want to practice where I was working because I felt like I won't be able to practice Reiki or any of this stuff that I don't think they're open to as at this time.
Right.
But because Reiki's becoming so mainstream and all this stuff, even essential oils, and even Teresa Caputo, the Long Island medium, because she's Catholic, I know some of the people that work there, amazing, awesome people, I love them. I know that they're like, I know who she is, and they're like all about it. But I'm like, back then, I was the one who like, no, I was the weirdo. And I remember actually going back in there years later, they're like, you know, Kara, you were always the weird one here, but I always really liked you.
Well, it's good that you were weird and they liked you.
Yeah, right?
That's good.
Yeah. So, but anyway, after going back to doing massage school, of course, that gave me so much more language with the physiology. So we got that piece. We got training in the anatomy and the physiology, so that gave me more references to label what I was feeling and go, this is interesting because this is a cell. When I see that in my mind, that's what a cell looks like, or the mitochondria. Oh my gosh. So that was like nerd central.
Just making more connections, one connection after another.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Yeah. So after I, of course, graduated from massage school, I didn't want to work there because of maybe it limiting me. So I started practicing out of this building here at Firefly Hollow. It was just one room. My mom still had her business here. She owned a copier repair, computer business, and it was just me. And then I, of course, wanted to have other people that would support me and needed to meet with other body workers. So we had a meeting here in the conference room across the hallway there, and it was 8 of us, and my director from massage school led it, and she was talking about goals and all these new things that as a leader I needed to learn about running my own business. That whole was my new journey there, and I met all these really amazing body workers. So we decided to meet every single month. We're like, let's meet, let's continue to do this, and it grew that we wanted to have other people, acupuncturists, Reiki practitioners, and then that turned into the Central PA Holistic Network, which is now, when I got too busy, now it's been turned over to this amazing nonprofit, and it's integrating in regular people instead of just the holistic professionals, but that's the Community for Holistic Integration, which is CHI. So
and you just hosted a meeting here
we
tonight.
did just have a meeting here. So I mean that when that grew, because of the Central PA Holistic Network, we were having meetings every month. We were eating out. We were meeting all these really awesome people. I had a massage therapist come to me and said, the business that I worked at was owned by the people that moved to Florida. I wanted to buy it from them. They wouldn't let me buy it from them. They closed the doors, locked it up. My clients' lists and all those things are in there. I can't get to them.
Oh.
I need an emergency place to go. And I was like, oh, well, I have a room. So she came in, and then just organically, that's kind of how it was. People were like, I need a space. And we just had all these professionals just come here and anchor here. And then we started building this team. And I never really, I wouldn't say I never wanted this, but I never really planned this,
Okay.
you know? So it just kind of fell in my lap. So when that happens, you have to grow with it. You have to learn skills that you never thought you would have to learn, like accounting and QuickBooks and all these things that, as things grew quicker, I was a creative and intuitive. I don't have time for time management. I don't have time for budgeting my money. That's for people who are
who wants to
boring,
do that?
right? So what that journey brought me was the ability to ground and really anchor into my physical body.
Yeah.
And get very clear. And I know working with other holistic professionals and other clients, I see that they're on that journey of awakening, like they are untethered. When you're untethered to your physical body, you don't know how to ground, you don't know how to anchor, you can just be every little turn in the energy, or the cosmic astrology messes you up for the day, or someone's energy brings you down. You're just so, it's just like the ocean, just like throwing you across the room, and you don't know how to manage your emotions. You don't know how to manage who you are, and how do you live life being a sensitive. And not only just not being a sensitive, but people who aren't aware and don't say they don't feel energy, they still deal with that too. And so being able to ground and anchor, become very black and white, was my safety. That helped me to really fully anchor and embody who I am and who I'm becoming and continuing to grow into. But I feel like that was my thing I least liked. I do not care for accounting. I love that it makes things organized and helps things feel safe because you know what's going on.
Right.
But I do not care for the admin work of it. It's boring.
Do not enjoy that.
Yeah. So yeah. But yeah.
So where did the name come from?
Okay. So Firefly Hollow. When my mom and dad were together, the property lights up with fireflies, of course, in the middle of the summertime. And with the farm, my mom was very crafty. So she always made things. She always went to her little ladies painting groups, and they painted things on wooden blocks, and that was her thing. So she said, we need to name this something. And she's like, Firefly Hollow. So she named it Firefly Hollow, and she painted this really beautiful wooden sign that we actually have in the boutique, and these cute little fireflies with little cartoon eyes. And it's etched, it says Firefly Hollow. And she, I think, originally wanted to create a business doing crafts or selling something, because she basically registered the name Firefly Hollow itself, doing business as. And when I decided to, of course, be here as my massage practice, I said, I need a name. She goes, why don't you call it Firefly Hollow? I was like, I love that, because you came up with it, and it's history, and it's about this property. And so then, of course, we had to say Firefly Hollow Wellness, and that's how the name came about.
So is it Firefly Hollow
Holistic Wellness.
Okay,
Yep.
Holistic
Firefly
Wellness
Hollow
Center.
Holistic
Okay.
Wellness Center.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
Excellent.
Because just Firefly Hollow, people think it's just a retreat center or a place to go camping.
Exactly.
Yeah, and there is and there's a Firefly Hollow brewing company.
Ooh.
Yeah, which is that. I'm gonna go visit there sometime.
I was gonna say yes.
But yeah, Firefly Hollow Holistic Wellness, so that people know exactly what, at least trying to label what that is, what we do here.
So how long has the business been going?
2014.
Excellent. How many practitioners do you have here?
I have to count. So
You can ballpark it.
I think we have 11 practitioners.
Very nice. Okay, so we know that you're trained in massage. You have mentioned a couple other things. What healing modalities have you been trained in?
Okay, so Reiki sound with Lana Ryder. So I'm very, very interested in sound therapy, and that's something that I continue my education in. Reiki attunements up to Reiki master level. I've done acupuncture, which is like acupuncture without needles, which is a really interesting modality. I was trained in meridian dance, which is a really fascinating modality. If anyone has ever been to the New Visions Holistic Expo, formerly the Celebration of Life Holistic Expo, there was a gentleman there years ago, Master Dow was his name, and he did an amazing body work where he was working with your meridians and working with your energy system and moving your body in all sorts of different ways to move that energy. So I took workshops and courses with him, energy development, some of the Carolyn Meiss's courses for intuition, medical intuition, and oh my gosh, there's so many. I'm trying to think the ones that really stood out to me.
So when somebody calls to schedule an appointment with you, what do they do?
That's good. So of course, with the two type of clients that I work with mainstream clients who know nothing about what I do on the other side. For real. And then when they find out, they come in, they have no idea, and I go, well, my bio on my website says what I do, so maybe they don't read it, and that's okay. They come in because they just want to schedule a massage, and what we do is we work with the physical body. And I ask them, if we're not getting any healing with that physical body work, we're working with the structure. Of course, working for a chiropractor, I'm passionate about not just relieving the muscle tissue that's hurting, but like what's going on with your posture that might be affecting a long-term pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at that and I work with that with myofascial release, connective tissue massage, and structural work. And that's my favorite stuff. So I get results with that, but if they're not having results after working with them for maybe 5-6 sessions, then I start to dive into, what are you eating? What's going on with your diet?
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing with your stress levels? And we start talking about those things and opening up a dialogue. Some of my clients who've been with me for a long time, who started out, those clients now know what I do. They're very interested in what I do. And for me, that's been a journey because that was a scary thing for me, to come out of the closet with who I am and what I do to these people who have no idea that they're the people that always tease me and like, what is she doing? Who is she? And so it really is great because I had people that look like, to me, they look like the people in high school that were, popular and fun and had, good times, and they're coming to me because they're seeing things.
Mm-hmm.
And so people schedule me for massage. They schedule because they come in and they're seeing spirits or they're experiencing an intuition or awakening, and they don't know what to do with it. And sometimes I work with people who are looking to detox their life, because going through the journey that I did, working with clients with massage therapy, with working with any muscle memory or trauma or anything that's in their body, they're working with, say, a psychotherapist, but they're continuing to keep hitting brick walls with that psychotherapist.
Mm-hmm.
We'd say, well, how about we release anything that's going on in the body, because I can see what I'm working with, that we got trauma here, and I don't know what it is. I don't need to go into the details. That's your story, but let's work with you being able to be physically in your body and not disassociate and go out of your body when I'm working on you. So with working with that, with helping people use body work as an adjunct to their therapy sessions, people were having great transformation, and then they're working with their therapist and as well as me to work with food stuff. Mm-hmm. People started having these miraculous changes to the point where they said to me, you need to create a program. So I said, well, how do I take what I do and make it into structured format? So that's when the birth of the Mind Body Detox program, which we've ran here since 2015. We do it 3 times a year, and we're running it right now. And it's basically the culmination of my life journey. How do you get rid of toxins such as negative people? Being in a toxic relationship, growing up with my son's father. How do you get rid of sugar addiction? How do you get rid of self-sabotage? How do you deal with confidence and becoming who you are? How do you open up your intuition? All these things that make up a person's life journey, really, we want to get to the root of why they can't overcome an obstacle. Mm-hmm. So whether it's a toxin such as self-sabotage or critical thinking or smoking, or not something like, if they're going through like a 12-step or they're going through opioid addiction or things like that, they go to another program first before they would come here, because this is not appropriate for that.
Right.
But we help people really get to the root of why they continue to go back to toxic substances. Mm-hmm. And I actually had to put a warning on my flyer, and it's kind of a funny warning. Warning, this may change your life. You may change jobs, you may go through divorce, you may go through complete and utter, flip upside down. And I know I have the people out there that, if you are watching this, those people have continue to propel me in the direction of keeping on with that program, because of course there's times when you doubt yourself. Is this really, is this right? And then bringing on other people to help me, because some of the things that I knew I was going to stumble upon, how do I deal with this? This is beyond my scope. So I have a holistic nurse that I work with and a psychotherapist that works with me with the program. But other than physical body work and coaching and afterlife communication, readings, and energy work, the Mind Body Detox program is the biggest thing that I want to focus on, and then what I do, because so many of us out there, especially as healers or people who are helpers, if you're a teacher, if you're a stay-at-home mom, or a psychotherapist or a nurse, all of us healers don't take care of ourselves.
No, we don't.
And we need to do that so that we can help other people. And that's the biggest thing that I feel like I'm called to do. And that how I did it and how I continue to do it, because I continue to use the principles from this program every time I hit a block in my life. Like, how do I overcome this now? How do I overcome that? And I use the exercises and the meditations and the journal entries, everything that's in there, to excavate a thing that's really deep within our wounds, our psyche, all those things, and of course work with other healers and things to help me if I'm physically holding in my body. Right now I'm doing medical Qigong with Sam Smelter. Amazing. Amazing. Medical Qigong is like Reiki on steroids. Like, it's targeted. It's so targeted, and Reiki is very wonderful in general and relaxation, and this is like, take it to an evolved form of energy work. And so I'm working with that with working with blocks for myself, and I continue to always want to do that, because I don't think anybody's ever perfect. And I think if you ever meet a teacher or a healer that says they are, or puts on the facade that they are, to run away. But those people also, if you don't run away first, you're just learning the lesson of discernment, and it's okay. You'll go through that, and you'll never go back. You'll never go back. But yeah, that's my passion right now, is the massage therapy, mind body detox, and then of course readings and helping people understand and manage their intuition.
And your Mind Body Detox continues to grow and evolve as you do.
Absolutely.
That's perfect.
Absolutely, it does.
Okay, so again, somebody's out there, and I'm sure you've hit on something. They're like, I just need to get in and see her. What if they don't know exactly what it is they need to see you for? Then what do they do? Do you have a consult where you can bring them in for a certain amount of time and ask them some questions and see which direction they need to go?
So this is a very good question.
Okay, good.
The question that's brought up to the present day of where Kara Loveheart is and the challenges I face at this time. I am completely booked out for the rest of the year.
Okay.
So I feel so much like pull and so much desire, and people want what information I have. So I have done my best to cut my clientele in half every week, so that I can move toward making videos and making information that's free for people to access, because they cannot get in touch with me. And offering things online, moving that Mind Body Detox program online.
Wow.
And that's a big learning step, because there's a lot of things to learn of new programs and things you have to
shoot.
You have to do the third dimensional stuff and the organization and things that I know I was prepared for now. On my journey, it made me prepared for doing this so I could help more people. So if people don't know what they need, with the Mind Body Detox, we do an intake consultation and we help them excavate what it is. And that's something that's still available in the New Year's. Our next program we run at the end of January. But if people don't know what they need and where to start with holistic health,
they're just out there and they're like,
they don't know.
Oh my God, I need to go see her.
Right. So what I recommend is to peruse our website and look at the pictures of the practitioners. If you're a visual person, who do you feel drawn to just by their picture? And then look at their bio, and look at the services they offer. Call our receptionist and ask questions about it. Look up the specific service and what is that. And of course we have information on the website, but do more research. And I think what happens in your life, if you're supposed to be involved in a certain healing modality, it will come up over and over again. Someone will talk about it, you'll hear it on the radio, you'll go, that's interesting, I just thought about that, I just heard about it, now there's a book I'm seeing at Barnes & Noble about it. And I think that's a calling for you to explore that in your healing journey, and maybe that's something for you. That is something for you, because I think the holistic healing journey is you try a lot of different things, and you're looking to address the root cause from a psychological standpoint, a spiritual standpoint, and a physical standpoint. And if you're addressing modalities and doing modalities that address your physical, say it's chiropractic or massage or yoga or exercise, diet, nutrition, and you're doing all that, but you're still having issues, maybe you need to look at your stress levels, meditation, Reiki, EFT. There's so many things, but there's not one size fits all. Everybody's going to react differently to anything, and most of the time we prefer people to come in for an integrative massage.
Okay.
Because integrative is all the practitioners here will integrate all the tools that they've learned in all their healing modalities, and they'll put it in one session based on what you need. Because some people call us and say, I'm really hurting, so I need a deep tissue massage. And that's not always the case. You may not need, this no pain, no gain thing. You think that if they put 16 elbows in me and get that knot out, that's how it's going to do it. That's not how it works. Your body will guard if you're going that deep, and it will actually reverse what you want to do. So if people say, I want deep tissue, we go, they need a medical-based massage, they need an integrated massage, so we can look at their body, look at their posture, and look at the tools we have with what works with their specific body type. And that's what I think we recommend that mostly. And then, of course, some people want to explore the intuition. I think an astrology reading is a really good way to go when you're starting. If you want to jump full in there and go through some things that you're like, I don't know about this astrology stuff, but I think it's interesting because you can get a good picture of where you're at in your life, some of your history, some of the psychology, and maybe what's going on underneath, and maybe where your healing journey lies. And either a tarot reading, an oracle reading, or an astrology reading can really direct you a little bit better if you're wanting to do the spiritual aspect as far as go that way. But if you're wanting to just address it from the physical, I'm not interested in that woo-woo stuff, and we're okay with that. We're open. Please have healthy skepticism when you come. Healthy skepticism and open curiosity, because if you can do that, we love you. Because we don't want people to just follow like sheep. There's so many questions to ask and things to learn about these modalities. So if you go into it with, I want to do the physical stuff, we have a holistic nutritionist. She's a nutritional therapist. She does blood work, like legitimate black and white blood work. Here's what your readings are, if you want to do it that way. Or you want to work with the acupuncturist. But again, it's where do you want to focus first? Because I didn't want to focus on my physical body. Changing my diet was the last thing I wanted to do. I wanted to work on my heart, work on my affirmations, and changing how I believed it, who I was first. And some people want to work on food first. So I hope that answers your question.
I mean, you offer a lot of services here, and it's just like you said, perusing the website and see what resonates, see what hits.
Yeah, and you can come to classes as well. I always recommend coming to our open house. We have 2 a year. The next one's November 2nd. It's from 10 to 5. And the doors open at 9:30 because people come and they line up at the door to sign up for services because it's first come, first serve. And all the services are $22 so that you can get a taste of all the practitioners' services, what they offer. And we have free lectures all day. They're all about 20 minutes, and there's door prizes giveaway after every lecture. But that's a place to come and immerse yourself in this land of holistics. What is this stuff? And ask questions, meet people, and just connect.
Yeah.
So
find some like-minded people.
Like
you said, find more purple people.
Yeah, or green,
or green, or pink.
People,
it's all good.
Yeah, fuchsia. But I think that's a really good way to start because you do get an idea, whether it's a single holistic Sunday class that we have that's based by donation or an open house. It does give you a good taster of all we have to offer.
That's fantastic. Now you mentioned that. Do you have any other events coming up that you'd like to talk about?
This Sunday is Medical Qigong with Sam. Of course, I'm super into that right now. Oh, it's amazing. And then we just had an amazing massage therapist join us. Her name is Angie Brightstone. She's been a massage therapist for 18 years. She was one of the head coordinator, director of the Baltimore Massage School, which changed to Cortiva. She was the director of the education department, I believe, for creating their curriculum, I should say.
Okay.
So if I paraphrase that wrong, I'm sorry, Angie, but she's just an amazing instructor and teacher. So what she does, she offers shiatsu massage and structural integration and integrated massage here privately, but she teaches classes for people for self-care. And we're doing this, it's a series, so you don't have to go to all of them, you just go to one if you want. There's one coming up this weekend, and it's on hips and low back. How do you deal with your hip pain and your low back pain? Because maybe not everyone can afford to get a massage every month, or how often they need to get to a place where they're just doing maintenance. So she is using tools to help people become body aware and use massage tools and tennis balls and different stretches at home to be able to not only just keep your massage, maybe if you get one for low back, and keep the massage results longer, or if you can't afford it at all, how do you just do this by yourself? So that's just $15. And so she's an amazing instructor. Her classes are filling up because everyone loves her and they're like, I want to come to all of them. Because that's her gift in teaching. And you can see it shines through her when she is teaching. So Medical
that's
Qigong,
this weekend.
That's this weekend, and Medical Qigong is on Sunday. And then we have Helena Lolita. She is amazing, inspirational musician, and she's doing a violin meditation this Saturday evening. And with her, she channels this music. She just she just makes it up on the spot. And if you look at our Facebook page, there's a video of her doing it, and you're like, what? She just made this up. She's been playing since she was a little girl. She was born in India, and she's been all over the world, and she's had signed record deal with Warner Brothers Records, I believe. So she's just very talented, and she also is a sensitive like I am. She labels her sensitivity synesthesia, where the senses blend, where you can smell color and you can see. You can see emotions and color. That's what synesthesia is. It's blending of senses in your brain. So it's the medical terminology for it. So she's a fellow sensitive and empath, and whether she calls it, whatever she labels it as, it's very similar to what I experienced. So I think that's what makes her gift so powerful, that she's feeling that music move through her. Where she would go with it, where should she flow with it, and she plays it on a loop pedal. So she'll do some background stuff and then play other things on top of that. And it's a very meditative experience. So if you're in that space, you can just fully let go and go into a meditative space. Because some people have a hard time meditating, and they're like, well, I can do guided meditations because I can follow along, but if you have something like this where you are your brain is processing all the music at the same time, the way she plays, it really helps put you in that altered state where you can just quiet your mind and just lay there on the floor and just relax and take it in. Wow. So we're really blessed to have her coming back this weekend.
Excellent. And they can find all this information on the website.
Yes.
What is the website?
It is fireflyhollowwellness.com. And then our Facebook, of course, is Firefly Wellness. We have a free app that's the best way to download that on Apple or iPhone. I think it's the best way to learn about what we have because it's more mobile friendly. Gotcha. Sometimes mobile, websites aren't the easiest to navigate,
right.
But it has information and biographies of our practitioners, all of our upcoming events, and you can register right through there. You can see details and pricing and stuff. But that's just Firefly Hollow. You can just search it in your app store.
Excellent. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. You are just a wealth of information.
Thank you, Judy.
So we ask all of our guests at the end of the show. A lot of our viewers are new to spirituality. And there's a lot of them out there that have been at this for a while and struggling. 2019's been a tough year. Do you have any pearls of wisdom you would like to leave them with? I mean, you've said an awful lot already, but if there's something that you could just drop as a nugget that could help them.
Just saying what you said about people are struggling out there, just I well up with so much emotion and empathy and connection on that point. And the biggest thing that people who are going through transition and going through that struggle, that biggest struggle is based on the fact that you don't know who you are, or who you are is changing and you're struggling to hold on to who you used to be. And it's in surrendering and allowing yourself to become who you are going to be, no matter if you don't know what that looks like yet, and allowing yourself to excavate who you really are. And who you really are is not the clothing you wear, the job you have, or I'm a psychic medium, or I'm a Reiki practitioner, or I'm a mom, or I, play tennis. All these labels are just what you do. And who you are is something that's beyond words that only you can experience. It's an essence. And I think that going inward in these times of transition, taking times to pause, slow down, and connect with yourself. Whatever way you connect, if it's through nature, if it's journaling, if it's singing, if it's making music, if it's drawing, something that creates this stillness that you're not interacting with other people, you're getting off the devices, and you're being with yourself. Because being with yourself is the only way and the only space you're going to know yourself or know thyself. And it's important to also note that the point of power is always here, that if you're looking for a higher power, your higher self, God, spirit, whatever you want to label it as, It's not in the future and it's not in the past. God, Spirit, whatever you label it, is always here. It's in you, it's all around you, and you can only experience it in the present moment. And you can only experience yourself in the present moment, not projections of yourself in the future or projection of yourself who you were. So I kind of equate those two together. Yourself and your higher power, God, all those things are one. And slow down, guys. Allow yourself to go within and feel that space and be in that space, because that will bring you to the next level and our next evolution to get through it all.
Don't be afraid. Some people are
Right.
afraid to be silent.
Yeah,
Don't be afraid.
yeah,
It brings peace.
absolutely.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
You're
This has
very
been
welcome.
extremely informative.
Yeah.
I have known about you and met you a few times, but I never knew all that information. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
sharing
absolutely.
so deeply with us.
Absolutely, I'm an open book. So-
Yes, you are.
Yeah,
Thank you
yeah.
for sharing that book.
Absolutely.
All right. Do we have any questions,
We
Jen?
don't have any questions. Lana just says, love you, Kara.
Oh, Lana, I love you
Also
too.
love you, Judy and Jen.
Oh, love you too, Lana. Thank you all for joining us. Next week we have a Friday night show. Not a Wednesday night, a Friday night. We're going to the Beehive next week.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh, Jackie.
we are. We're going to be with Jackie at the Beehive. So thanks for tuning in. You get a decent break from my face for a while. And don't forget you're awesome.